Why are you dressed up like a princess today?
Don't you know? It is Purim. Don't.
What do you mean, Purim?
I don't believe this. The holiday. You know, how evil Haman tried to kill all the Jews, and Queen Esther and Mordecai tricked him and convinced the king to spare us.
So? In every generation somebody is trying to kill us, and in every generation the Holy One saves from them. Why celebrate this story? Why not celebrate when Gideon saved Israel from the Midianites? Or when David defeated the Philistines? If we celebrated every disaster that God averted from us, we'd be celebrating every day.
Is your memory starting to go already? Are you drunk? Remember last year, in the synagogue? It was you who was reading the Megillah. Don't you know Hebrew? Can't you remember what you read? Chapter 9 says that Mordecai and Esther sent letters to all the Jews to celebrate Purim. I think it actually says it twice.
Jump. Jump, I say.
What? Why? Have you gone crazy?
No, trying to illustrate a point. If I were your gym coach and I told you to jump, would you do it?
In class? Sure. As soon as you told me.
So I would not have to say it twice, if I were in authority and could tell you to jump?
Of course not.
Then why did Esther and Mordecai have to do it twice?
I do know. Maybe the Jews forgot.
Forget an excuse to party? Besides, we were talking about Jews. Some of us still fast for the assassination of a fairly minor Babylonian functionary over 2,600 years ago. You can do better.
Maybe there was a reason not to celebrate Purim.
Excellent. The Talmud in Megillah 7a explains it. Imagine that the Romans were to celebrate the anniversary of when they destroyed the temple. Or the Germans celebrate Kristallnacht, the first step to the Holocaust. Would we be happy?
No.
So if the Jews were to celebrate Purim every year, would the friends and relatives of the Gentiles they killed, those who prepared to kill them, be happy?
Of course not.
Were the Jews of Esther's time strong, or weak?
When Mordecai was the king's chief advisor, I guess they were strong.
And later? After Mordecai died? Or if king were to change his mind again?
So, the Jews were not strong.
Exactly. They were weak, living in exile, spread out among people who didn't like them. What happens when you provoke people who already don't like you, and who are much stronger than you are?
They beat you up.
Pretty much. Pogroms. Riots. Maybe another Haman who'll try to get all the Jews killed.
So, the sages were afraid that celebrating Purim every year would be considered as mocking their Gentile neighbors, which would be dangerous. Then why do we celebrate Purim? Did a prophet tell us it would be okay?
No, prophets were exceeding rare already, and within a couple of generations God stopped sending them at all. But that is why Esther wrote the second letter. To argue with the sages. She won.
What did she say? Do this, because my uncle is the king's chief advisor and you really don't want him to be mad at you?
No, she told the sages that the story of Purim is already written in the history books of Persia and Media. So the Gentiles will remember the story anyway. We might as well thank God and celebrate it.
And is it?
Is it what?
Written in the history books of Persia and Media.
No, the Iranians of today descend from the Persians and Medes, but they didn't bother to preserve their history books from that period. After the Greeks conquered them, they must have decided it was not very important. By that time, though, we were already used to celebrating Purim, so we kept doing it. Hope you have a fun, silly Purim.